So here's what's on the shelf. No. Hi guys, here's what's on the shelf. What's on my shelf? No. Welcome back to What's on the Shelf. Have a look at my shelf. Hi guys, here's my shelf. Let's see what's on it. I wonder what's on the shelf today. What is on the shelf? Hi guys, and welcome back to On the Shelf. So today I'm doing another episode of What's on the Shelf, where it's my chance to kind of tell you guys what I've been reading and playing in the last month, and also give you a film recommendation. So I've actually got a lot to talk about this episode. I have a manga haul, which is something that doesn't happen often because I don't buy a whole lot of manga, but I bought some really great stuff, and I've actually completed some of my manga collecting goals as well. So super happy about that, and I can't wait to share it with you. So yeah, let's get straight to it and let's see what's on the shelf. Yeah, I think that sounded better. So starting off, before we get to the manga haul, I like to talk about what I've actually been reading in the last month. So with hauls, it's a little bit difficult because sometimes by the time I've recorded, I've actually read the manga, but other times when it's a bigger series or it's just arrived prior to recording, like today, I've just got some parcels, I don't have a lot to say about them. So it becomes a little bit boring and I don't have a lot to offer there. But I thought I would just sprinkle in a few series that I've read in the last month or so and let you know my thoughts. So very quickly, first up, I've been reading Dorohedoro. So I actually read all of Dorohedoro in the last month as part of the Between the Shelves podcast. So quick plug, please go and check that out. It's where me and my friend Zach from Uchu Shelf talk about manga and all the things we love about it, but we've started a Manga of the Month segment where we now discuss a new manga every month as voted for by you, the viewer, and we'll all read it together and we'll discuss it. So the manga that we chose was Dorohedoro. Kind of sorry that this episode has been a little bit delayed for a lot of different reasons, but it is coming very soon, and who knows, by the time that this is edited and uploaded, it might just be out now. So yeah, Dorohedoro is probably one of the most violent and weird series I've ever read, and I want to save a lot of my opinions on it for that podcast. But what I will say is it has its ups and downs. The best thing about it is by far the characters. There's so many characters in this series and there's a lot of mystery surrounding them all. I was constantly intrigued about our main character Cayman, how he came about having this lizard head and everything involving that, and all of the different kind of wizards and the masks and things like that. Super cool, really love that gothic Halloween style to it, and yeah, really enjoyed it. I think where it does fall down a little bit is it gets a bit bogged down in mystery, and it adds a lot of things as it goes along, and it felt like I was watching an episode of Lost where I was getting more new questions as opposed to answers, and I definitely had to Google a couple of things in there. Yeah, if you want to know my full unfiltered thoughts on Dorohedoro, and please go and check out that episode of Between the Shelves, and please look out for some questions that we're going to be putting up that you guys can answer and get involved in, and we'll discuss on the podcast. So moving on to what you guys are really interested in, which is the manga haul. So these are the manga series that I bought and picked up recently, and kicking off is a one-shot kind of single volume of short stories from the creator of Blade of the Immortal. So that is Hiroaki Samura's Emerald. So this was released by Dark Horse, and I got it for really cheap. I think it's now out of print, and it arrived and it was way smaller than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be this huge kind of like omnibus style, sort of like a volume of Blade of the Immortal, but it's actually just this one single volume, and I'm really excited to check this out. It's got a lot of different short stories from Hiroaki Samura. I've seen a limited amount of series from this creator, but all of them I've really enjoyed. They've all been really weird and over the top and violent, and I'm expecting great things from this. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'm sure to let you know my thoughts on this at a later date probably. Then next up, I bought volume 8 of Dead Demons Destruction by Inio Asano. I really love saying that every single time. And this isn't the most current volume. I think volume 9 is out now, but I haven't got around to picking that up yet. And the reason I'm being a bit slow with this is this series I really love. It's about aliens in a very Asano way. It's an alien invasion and the human race don't really care that the aliens are here. It's kind of like an impending doom that the world's going to end, but they're just more bothered about their day-to-day lives. And yeah, fantastic series. I really love all the characters. I think they're all very varied and super interesting, but this is on hiatus at the moment, and it kind of keeps coming off hiatus and then going back on it, and it's really slow to release, so I think we're not going to get a new volume in quite a while. The exciting thing though is, over on Twitter I recently heard that this series is reaching its kind of end pretty soon, so it will be really interesting to see how things wrap up with this series, and considering that I think that this is more of a flashback volume, how Asano manages to close off the story in a pretty short amount of time. I'm assuming that the world will end and everyone will die and it will be really depressing, but you know, let's just go along for the ride and see what happens. Moving on to some of my collecting goals, if you like. There was a series that I talked about on my most anticipated manga releases video, so I'm going to link that now within this video if you want to go and check that out, and that was Blue Giant. So I actually got the first 2 volumes of Blue Giant in this really nice omnibus edition. So this is from Seven Seas, and the first thing that stood out to me, which I didn't realise again, was the size of this volume. So it's actually a little bit shorter. So if you can actually see, it's about the same size as an I Am a Hero omnibus from Dark Horse. So that was just something that I thought was really interesting and that I wasn't expecting. So this is a story about a boy who discovers jazz music, and I really love music series, so this is something that I was just immediately drawn to. And the first thing, you know, that I've noticed from flipping through a few of these pages is that the artwork is beautiful. Like, it's really nice, and I definitely think that this is going to be a firm favourite and something that I will likely review on the channel as well. So yeah, please do go and support Seven Seas. I think they've done a really great job with this release, and I'm really looking forward to what they have in store for us in terms of Blue Giant in the future. So I've got 2 things left on the manga haul, and the next one is really special and it has a really nice story behind it. So both myself and Zach from Mutual Shelf are big fans of Taiyo Matsumoto. I've done a whole video on Taiyo Matsumoto. It's because of Zach that I was introduced to this mangaka. You know, I'd not really read anything of his before, and I checked out Cats of the Louvre and then Tekken Kinkari, and I was immediately hooked and loved everything that he's put out and that I've read. So when surfing on the internet and having a look over on Instagram, I came across an Instagram page. I can't remember the name of it, so really sorry. I'm going to go and check that out and link them down below in the comments just to give credit where credit's due. And they posted a really interesting picture. Now this picture was of a Taiyo Matsumoto manga called Sunny, and in this picture all of the main characters had actually been drawn by Inio Asano. So yeah, myself and Zach both love Inio Asano and Taiyo Matsumoto, and this is like the perfect crossover. So immediately I tagged him in that picture and he freaked out, I freaked out. We both wanted to know where this came from, where we could, you know, buy whatever book this was in, or, you know, own it in some way. And I believe Zach wants to make it into a full scale print and have it framed on his wall. So in the end, we did a little bit of research on Twitter and we managed to track down this really nice magazine, and I can't remember what it was called. Zach ordered it immediately and he ordered me a copy as well. It's really nice about that, and he posted it to my house. And this magazine is all about Taiyo Matsumoto, and it's all in Japanese, so I can't read Japanese, but it was just a really cool collector's item that I'm really happy to own. I can't really show you any of this because it's going to look really weird, but there's actually illustrations by lots of different mangakas, again by like Inio Asano and things like that. But right here we have Oda, who draws One Piece, of course, his rendition of one of Matsumoto's characters and things like that, and it's just full of interviews and little clips of manga panels and all kinds of things, and it's just a really nice thing that both me and Zach agreed we had to own. But that's not actually the big thing that I got in this haul. So yeah, the main thing that I got as part of this manga haul actually relates to Taiyo Matsumoto. So I struggled to pick them all up, but I actually got all of Sunny by Taiyo Matsumoto. So we got all 6 volumes in hardcover. I'll just very quickly show you some of the covers. So these are really nice releases from Viz, and this was on my most anticipated manga video, where at the end I talked about my collecting goals, and this was the top of the list. So of course, super happy to own this. These are all, hardcovers by Viz, but they were pretty expensive. I got them over at Blackwell's, which was a recommendation from Himeka, who said, that they're a really great website for buying manga. So I went and picked up all. I needed 5 volumes. I already had volume 1 to complete my collection of Sunny. So yeah, I don't know a lot about Sunny other than that it's the last Matsumoto work that's actually printed in English that I don't own, and I'm really, really excited to check it out. I've heard it's a bit of a tearjerker. It's about an orphanage, and I can imagine what's going to happen, so I'm just bracing myself for that series. And oh, I almost forgot as well, I also got Ping Pong Volume 2. Now, there was a problem with it where some of the pages were a bit, stained, because I think the ink started to run out as they were printing it. So Blackwell's are really nice, and they sent me out another copy. So I don't have that to show, but just imagine like Volume 2 of Ping Pong here, and I'll do some editing wizardry and you can just see the cover. Yeah, I loved it. I actually read it as soon as it arrived, and it had a perfect ending as expected with Matsumoto, and I think it jumped Tekken Kinkreet for me in terms of which Matsumoto manga I really love. So if you haven't checked out Ping Pong, fantastic releases. I'm not a person who likes sports manga, and that one was just fantastic from start to finish. So highly, highly recommend, and just recommend Matsumoto in general. I feel like that's the general consensus of this video so far. So that's it in terms of manga, but for anime in the last couple of months, I actually just started watching Demon Slayer. So this might shock you. I feel like I've lived under a rock for so long, but it's kind of my own doing. So I have this weird thing where if people recommend me stuff, I sort of out of spite just refuse to watch it usually. My friends just get really frustrated. I think the first time someone told me to watch Family Guy, I just laughed in their face and said, I'm not watching that. And now I really love it. It's one of my favourite kind of cartoon series and things like that. So I've read so much on the internet about Demon Slayer, and I think that I just said to myself, that can't be that good. Like, it's just way too hyped. And to an extent, I do agree. Like, I want to make a whole video about Demon Slayer when I finish watching it. What I will say is, I'm hooked. Like, I think that I've been converted. I feel like those sort of people that hated on Bieber for so long, and then when he suddenly became cool, everyone, who jumped on that bandwagon. That's me with Demon Slayer right now. I've just sort of slated it for so long and put it down, and now I can't comment on the manga, but the anime is some of the best animation that I've ever seen. Ufotable or UFO Table always hit the ball out the park. I love the Fate series, and they've done a fantastic job with Demon Slayer. And although it's a pretty generic story, I think the pacing is perfect. And I really love all the characters as well. So yeah, gonna make a video on Demon Slayer in the future, so look forward to that. And then for video games, I've not had a whole lot of time to play video games lately. I've been doing a lot of other different things and house renovation and stuff like that. But I recently completed The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on Nintendo Switch. So this came out ages ago, and it's a remake of a really old game, but with a really cool claymation animated style that I just fell in love with instantly. And it was a great kind of pick-me-up game. I think that's the best thing with Nintendo, and why I tend to review more like Switch games than I do anything else, is just because they're just really great and accessible, and I find myself just picking it up for 5 or 10 minutes at a time that suddenly just becomes an hour. And yeah, I always come back to them. And this is one that I'd done 90% of and sort of put down for some reason when I went and played something else. And yeah, recently just thought I'd finish it, and fantastic, as always. Thanks, Nintendo. I love this. I love Zelda. Of course, I'm really looking forward to Skyward Sword, the HD remake, whenever that comes out. And as always, I end off these episodes with a film recommendation, and this is a tough one to recommend for me. I've been rewatching a lot of old films lately, and this is the only real new film that I've watched, but I can't recommend it for anyone who is a bit squeamish, because this is probably one of the most violent films that I've watched in a long, long time. So the film that I'm talking about is Possessor, and if the poster's anything to go by, then you know it's probably not for you if you're not a fan of horror. This was a psychological kind of science fiction horror, which is about a woman who can implant her consciousness into another person's body. Super interesting. Like, she goes away and she lies in this bed and puts something on her head like a weird machine, and then she implants her consciousness into another person and she can control them, and there's nothing they can do about it. They're kind of like subdued below the surface, and she can do whatever she wants, and of course that's a terrifying thing. So this company uses their technology to murder people for money. So it's kind of like a hitman service, but it's completely untraceable. There's a lot of like themes in this about identity and things like that. It tries to be a little bit over the top in terms of its themes and stuff, and it can be a little bit artsy, but really interesting, really hard hitting, and probably some of the most gruesome deaths that I've seen in a film in a while. Sean Bean's in this as well, which was quite a nice thing to see. Also an actor, I can't remember his name, who was in HBO's Girls, which I really enjoy, so shameless plug. If you haven't watched that series, I would, it's fantastic. But yeah, the best thing about Possessor is just it kept me guessing. I was always on edge, and it made me feel uncomfortable, but I enjoyed it. So if you enjoy horror and you enjoy science fiction, then please do check this out, but do so with an open mind and beware the gruesome nature of the story. So that about wraps things up for this episode of What's on the Shelf. I hope you enjoyed it. I always enjoy making these types of videos because they're so varied, and I get to talk about things on the channel that I don't normally, so you know, just a great thing for you guys and for me as well. So if you enjoyed it, then please don't forget to support the channel and hit like, and if you haven't already, you know, hit subscribe and things like that, and just let me know down below in the comments what you guys have been reading. Is there anything that you've been reading in the last month that you think is particularly interesting and that I might enjoy? Have you got any film recommendations that I should check out? Because maybe, you know, if I haven't heard of it, it could feature in the next episode. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.